Okay, let's get started. First of all, welcome, dear friends. Welcome to the SQL DBA Fundamentals virtual group. And it's our session, Comprehensive Guide for Monitoring SQL Server and Azure SQL Database. And I'm Alex Andruchenko, Senior Consultant from Wirecard Consulting. And in the same time, I'm a team lead of SQL Server Mentionparks team, we are part of Microsoft SQL Server Tiger team. Here with me, I have Ebru Ersan. She is PM for all SQL Server Mentionparks development, as well for other monitoring solutions and other stuff, and she'll handle questions. So please post your questions in the chat window. And and now we can start. So, as you know, Microsoft SQL Server now is much bigger than just the on-premise database engine for Windows-centric data centers, like it used to be some time ago. Now, when we talk about SQL Server, we also have to consider Azure SQL Database, robust and scalable cloud-hosted database, and SQL Server on Linux, which eliminates boundaries between Windows and Linux data centers. Main goal of my session today is to guide you through the multiple tools that you can use to monitor your SQL Server. You, as a DBAs or IT operations, may find yourself in different situations depending on monitoring tools you have now. I want to review several options that are available for you to monitor your SQL infrastructure and SQL databases, and discuss cost, benefits, and prerequisites. In the same way as SQL Server evolving and supporting new platforms like cloud or Linux, the monitoring solutions for SQL Server provided by Microsoft evolving as well, and we will review that. Okay, here our agenda. So we have two main chapters in our session, and in the first part, I will review tools available to monitor SQL Server today, and in the second part, I will provide a number of demos and share recommendations to you, and after that, we'll have some time for questions. So, first of all, it's very important to be clear what do we mean when we talk about monitoring for the SQL Server. I've seen many sessions and articles about SQL Server monitoring that was focused on the manually executed diagnostic scripts using the SSMS, or you also can see SQL Profiler involved. And I have to say that I can't call it monitoring for the enterprise database. This is not a monitoring for the heavy loaded enterprise scale database. When you try to execute something in SSMS, usually it means that there is already an issue and you are trying to solve this issue, right? Enterprise level database monitoring is about monitoring experience when you have an automated system, customize it for your deployment, and that system performs 24/7 monitoring. So you can just sit, relax, and drink your favorite coffee. I want to walk you through inventory of the tools that you can use to monitor different types of your SQL Server deployments. There are many third-party tools to do that, but I will focus on the Microsoft tools, and some of them paid, and some of them you can use without additional expenses. So let's start from System Center Operations Manager. It's a popular IT monitoring tool that can literally monitor anything with proper customization and tuning. This tool is highly appreciated by IT operations, but might be not as famous in the world of DBAs. Essentially, SCOM is a platform for monitoring of different workloads from Microsoft and other vendors. such as HP, Dell, Cisco, IBM, and others. And it's not limited to vendors, so you can build your own monitoring and extend it. Out of the box, SCOM provides basic monitoring for the operation system, but by importing special type of extensions called Mentionparks, you can enable monitoring for a particular workload, like SQL Server, for example. Microsoft provides Mentionparks almost for every server product, including SQL Server and SQL services such as analysis services, reporting services, and Azure database. Mentionparks for SQL Server that we are developing together with the SQL Server product group is the most popular SCOM package, and it's widely used for SQL monitoring. So, quick note about SCOM, just to highlight the further demos. SCOM in general provides two ways to monitor the environment, and first way is alert approach. So when SCOM Mentionparks triggers an alert, it is passed to ticketing system and assigned to the appropriate person. So in fact, user is not looking to the console, right? It's all automated, and it's a scenario that is often in large enterprises. And also, in small environments, you may have no ticketing system, so IT operations can deal with alerts right in the SCOM console. And the second way is when you have a dashboard and watch for changes on a dashboard. Or there might be a combination of two approaches.
Alex,
yeah.
Harry is saying he didn't understand what SCOM module was being mentioned. Please repeat. He mentioned which SCOM modules are available.
So there are hundreds of Mentionparks for SCOM, and you can import a package that will cover any Microsoft Server product, like Windows Server operating system, SQL Server, SharePoint, and Exchange, and other. So you can easily search for it. And as I said, every Microsoft Server product has corresponding Mentionparks, and also not only server products. There are a lot of other Mentionparks for desktop, OS, and so on. So also there are so many Mentionparks from other vendors, and you can find them as well. And most of them are free to download. It's very important that you can. You do not need to pay for the Mentionpark. I hope this answers the question, and I can continue. Okay. So let's review what's available for monitoring SQL Server with SCOM. There are two different packages that are available. It's SQL Server Mentionparks for SQL Server and BI services monitoring, and it covers Windows and Linux platforms. And also there is Azure SQL Database Mentionparks, which is designed to monitor databases in the cloud. So I want to make a small note regarding SQL Server Mentionparks. In fact, SQL Server Mentionparks is not a single Mentionpark, it's a family of Mentionparks, and you can download each Mentionpark separately. And this Mentionparks covers different SQL Server versions, starting from 2008 to 2017. And as you could see, in total, there are more than 20 Mentionparks that are available for download. And besides version-specific Mentionparks, there are Mentionparks for features of SQL Server that are big enough to have dedicated Mentionpark, like always-on, mirroring, replication, analysis services, and reporting services. So SQL Server has a really good coverage with Mentionparks, and you can download what you need to monitor your SQL deployment. Another tool that you may use to monitor your SQL database is Azure service called Operations Manager Suite, or OMS. This is a bundle of monitoring and management services in Microsoft Azure, and it provides decent capabilities for SQL DB monitoring using Microsoft Azure. So when we talk about OMS, we will focus on log analytics, because in fact, as I mentioned, SCOM, it's a bundle of different services, and you can have logs and automation agent, and we will focus only on log analytics feature of OMS. Like SCOM, OMS also support specific monitoring scenarios with extensions called solutions. From this point of view, OMS is also a platform like SCOM, and for SQL database, it provides two solutions. First one is SQL Server assessment solution that works with SQL Server on premise. It performs a regular assessment of your SQL database and instance health, and it is able to identify potential issues and weak points that need to be addressed before it becomes a real problem. It's pretty good, but the main purpose is SQL assessment, not an operational monitoring. And the second solution is Azure SQL Analytics, that is designed to monitor Azure SQL database. It provides operational monitoring scenarios. So next tool I want to share with you is known as VPCheck, or best practice check. And the good news that you don't need to do any configuration to use this tool, because essentially it's a package of SQL scripts that Microsoft Tiger team published on GitHub, and you can download it and use it right now. It has quite impressive set of metrics and health checks, so that you can see on the screen. But I can say that it's most geeky tool, and it's exactly the case when you need to run it from SSMS, and you can build some automation on top of this tool to scale it to your enterprise. So we'll touch this tool as well. Okay, and let's review one more time what we have in our toolbox for SQL Server monitoring. SCOM and two Mentionparks that covers all possible types of SQL Server, including Azure database and Linux deployments, as well as SQL Server BI services. It's OMS and two solutions for assessment of the SQL Server on-premise and for operational monitoring of the Azure database. And VPCheck set of SQL scripts from GitHub, free, easy to use, and customize, and it provides multiple metrics about different aspects of the SQL Server health. Of course, there are a bunch of third-party tools that are out of scope for this session. So now we know our options. We know what we can use to monitor SQL. And now it's time to try it. Now we are going to learn how we can use all these tools and what scenarios covered in these tools. It's demo time. So my first demo will be about SQL Server Mentionpark, and I'm going to switch to my demo environment.
So we had a question about SCOM MPs. We can answer that.
Okay.
Does SCOM still rely on OSMPs for server resources for SQL boxes?
So SCOM continue use Windows Server Mentionpack to monitor box resources. In the same time, in SQL Server MP, you can find specific monitoring like CPU or free space scenarios that are dedicated to SQL. So you can see exactly how much your SQL instance consuming, how much CPU it consumes, and how much free space left for particular database. So it's specific scenarios, but we do not duplicate scenarios covered by Windows Server Mentionpack.
Okay, thanks. There was also another question about SQL Server version limitations. We mentioned NPs have different versions, but for the other tools, for OMS and VPCheck, do they work against certain versions or not?
So VPCheck you can run on any SQL Server version, and OMS, if we talk about SQL Azure database solution, it is limited to a current version of Azure DB, and versions that are currently in Azure, that are currently deployed, will be also supported, because Microsoft will not drop existing customers. And if we talk about assessment solution, it will work on 2008 and up.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so I hope you can see my environment, and I'm not sure how much of you are familiar with SCOM, but essentially what you can see is a SCOM console, and this environment is pre-configured with a number of SQL instances. So I have a number of boxes deployed on this environment, and each box has some SQL Server role deployed. And actually, let me start from Mentionpack import experience. I'm going to show it only first time, because this experience is common for all MPs. But if you want to monitor your SQL Server with the Mentionpack, first thing you need to do to import it. And you can use online catalog or upload package from disk. So you need to select files, and then it's pretty simple. So you select files and click install, and it will deploy this Mentionpacks for you. As you could see, this environment is pre-configured with all possible SQL Server Mentionpacks with all SQL Server roles. So I will not demonstrate the import of each individual Mentionpack, but after SQL Mentionpack is imported, in most cases, it should work without any further configuration, with one exception. If you have permissions granted on your SQL instance to the local system account, because by default, SCOM will perform monitoring on the local system. After your initial discovery is completed, you will be able to see your SQL Server computers and your SQL Server roles in corresponding view under Microsoft SQL Server folder. So this is what you will see right after you import Mentionpack, and view will be populated after some time when initial discovery is completed. And as you could see, I have a good set of SQL instances deployed with different roles like DB engine, analysis services, and reporting services on this environment. So this is very important view, which will show you all active alerts for your enterprise, and I can show you a sample of alert. So the good thing about alert that it will report issue automatically, and you can see from description where exactly the problem is happening. Okay.
Venkat is asking what ID tool he's using. We're looking at SCOM console.
Yeah, we're looking at SCOM console, right? So from alert description, you can understand what's going on and what exactly is happening. So, for example, here I have a primary file group for database model on SQL instance, SQL Express on exact computer. So, and it says that this file group is running out of space. So this is a place where you could see all alerts that is generated by a specific rule or monitor, and it will report a health issue. There are also another views, as I mentioned before, and from this view you could review properties of your instance that will help you to understand what exactly this instance is. And next is my favorite view is data center summary. Data center summary is a single pane of glass for the IT operations, and you could see aggregated health of all your SQL instances in all your enterprise and including Azure SQL databases rolled up to a couple of tiles. And if you see that something wrong, you can expand this tile and get aggregated information about performance metrics and different health aspects. So from this view, I can see that DB engine is running, but it still has some issues. And to understand what is going on, I can use drill down feature, and with the endless drill down, you can see what's going on in a few clicks. So we can go to the next level, and from instance, which you could see right now, we can drill down to exact database, right? And I can see all these health aspects, monitors, and performance metrics for exact database. And finally, I can drill down to the next level, and here it is. My primary file group is running out of space, right? And this is how we can find the root cause of the issue in a few clicks. So this dashboard is fully customizable, and you can add and remove different tiles on a top level to add some else health aspects in the picture. For example, if you have web application with a backend and a front end, so you can add here IS Mentionparks tile, and it will consolidate health of your application, and you see it in a single place. Or you can add performance tile or monitor tile from the list of available. It's very easy, and you can do it on the fly. Also, it's important to understand that this dashboard will show you a snapshot data. So by default, it's last day, and you can also view data for last week and last 2 weeks. So this dashboard is more like you know, the designed for the second approach that we talked about for SCOM. And if you need historical data, you can always do it by jumping to performance view. And performance view will show you all performance metrics over time, and you can select time range to make analysis, and you can extend this data to be persisted to several years. In fact, it's as many as your SQL DW database can handle. So by default, it's like 2 years, and you can keep it forever, almost forever. So I also want to show you that we have not only these root views for data center views that shows you information about all your SQL instances in the same place. We also have feature and version specific views and folders on the next layer. And for example, if you look on SQL Server replication, so SQL Server replication, it has its own dashboard, and you can see what's going on with your replication, and you can easily drill down and find how many configured replications I have, and what engines act in this replication, and drill down up to exact instance and database that is serving this replication. So here I have 2 instances and distribution database, and I can see all these health checks. The same for other features, like we have analysis service, integration services, reporting, and database engine. And underneath we have always on and mirroring as well. So here is a mirror. And also we have, of course, some monitoring for SQL Server agent and agent jobs. It's all in these views and folders. So now I want to move to next Mentionpark, and it's a SQL Server 2017 plus Mentionpark. It's a new generation of SQL Server Mentionpark that has the same level of functionality as previous versions of Mentionpark, and it has some extra capabilities that we'll talk later. So this environment is already pre-configured with SQL Server Mentionpark 2017 plus, but I will not demonstrate your import experience again because it's common. And why we have this plus in the name? Because going forward, there will be only one generic version of the SQL Mentionpark that will support SQL Server 2017 and upper versions. And besides that, we will have dedicated feature-specific Mentionparks like replication or analysis services. This is feedback that we got from community that we need simplify RNS profile configuration and basically reduce amount of Mentionparks that you have to import and configure. This Mentionpark also has out-of-the-box experience, the same as previous version of Mentionpark. If you have a SCOM agent deployed on a SQL computer, SQL instance and its components will be discovered and monitored automatically. But this Mentionpark has a new monitoring mode that supports completely agentless monitoring through SQL scripts. And this monitoring mode was designed to monitor SQL on Linux, but also works for SQL on Windows. The main idea to use it on Windows is to remove SCOM agent load from heavy loaded workloads like OLTP. Because some customers will not deploy SCOM agent on a SQL computer. It's known that SCOM agent will run any Mentionpark automatically, and some customers they want to avoid any spike on OTP workload. And right now, this monitoring mode is available, and you can do complete remote monitoring for SQL Server on Windows as well. And SQL Mentionpark will run on SQL Mention Pool, and it will act as a watcher and run all SQL queries. So now let me show you a new way to discover SQL Server instance. So comparing to what you see before, I was just importing the Mentionpark, and I have agents deployed on the boxes, and that's all I need to do. So I have these agents, and Mentionpark is distributed to agents, and all monitoring starts automatically. With the SQL Server 2017 Mentionpark, if you want to monitor SQL Server on Linux, or if you want to monitor your SQL Server on Windows agent-less, you need to run add monitoring wizard and complete few steps. So in general, there are very simple configuration step. So you need add instance, and you can specify connection string in any format, including SQL credentials, and this Mentionpark support monitoring under SQL credentials and Windows credentials. So as I mentioned before, this environment is pre-configured, and I just want to show you what I have here. So it's SQL Server that already been added, and basically when you add a SQL instance, it will test connection, and as a data source or connection string could be anything like IP address or instance name or full connection string, and this Mentionpark will extract run as profile from it. And basically, it's very simple. So you just add one or multiple connection strings to your servers, and you are done. So after that, all monitoring will be as usual. And I want to show you this experience. So, oops, I need to restart console. It's demo effect. So, okay, I'm back. So after you complete wizard, so what you can see again under Microsoft SQL Server 2017, you can see discovered DB engines, and here I have a couple instances monitored with the classic monitoring model when it's deployed on agents, and here I have SQL Server on Linux, which is completely agentless. And also, again, I have this SQL Server dashboard that will show a health state of my SQL Server instances. And I can do the same things like drill down, etc. So I want to say that this Mentionpark, I mean, for Windows and for Linux, it has the same experience. And if you look to the right-hand side, we have exactly the same information, exactly the same performance metrics and monitors as for SQL on Windows, and to the same drill down to root cause. So there are more than 300 rules and monitors available in SQL Server Mentionparks that covers such important health aspects as CPU availability, performance, and free space. So you can refer to SQL Mentionpark guidance to get a full list of supported metrics. And now I'm going to switch to my next demo. So next demo is SQL Server Azure DB Mentionpark. So again, I will not show you how to import Mentionpark because it's the same. And this Mentionpark has out-of-the-box experience as well, but to enable it, you first need to add Azure subscription and choose what you want to monitor. So after Mentionpark is imported, you can use Azure SQL Database wizard to add your subscription to monitoring. So from this wizard, you need complete a few steps, and we do support monitoring under Azure Service Principal account, which is recommended, or you can use SQL Server credentials to connect to your instance directly. And I highly recommend to use first option because if you use SQL Server credentials, in this case, all traffic will be billed to you, because for Azure Library link, it will be just a regular traffic. In case if you use Azure Service Principal, it will be queries to Azure API, and it will be free of charge. So on the next step, if you use something like government or Chinese subscription, you can customize endpoints and monitor government and Chinese subscription as well. And finally, we have a feature that will create Service Principal account on behalf of you. It's a one-time place where you could, where you need to enter admin credentials for your Azure subscription, and this Mentionpark will not persist Azure admin credentials. It will be they will be used only to create Service Principal account. So this Service Principal account has read-only access to your Azure subscription and only to your Azure databases. That is highly secure. Okay. So right now it is creating run as account, and you need to note your client secret because you will be unable to see it again. And also this Service Principal account will never expire by default. Finally, you need to select subscription that you want to monitor. So I have one subscription market to my account, but if you have multiple, you can add them at once. And also you have a couple options to specify exclude list for servers or databases, to exclude some servers or databases from monitoring. So, and finally, there is a summary, and we are done. So that's all you need to do to enable monitoring for your Azure database. And here I, as usual, have something pre-configured, so I'm not going to do it again. And now I want to switch back to the Mentionpark, monitoring tab. And here I have Azure SQL database folder, and again it has the same structure like all other Mentionparks. The very useful active alerts view that shows me that, hey, there is something wrong with my DB7 hosted on this server. And I also have a knowledge which can explain me what I can do to fix the issue at the bottom. The summary dashboard, again, it's a single pane of glass that shows you health state of your instances, databases, and we also have monitoring support for elastic pools and database geo-replication. And you can expand it and see different health aspects. So I can see that I have good EDT utilization and I have enough storage, and I can drill down to see which exactly databases belong to this pool. So I have two databases in the pool, and one of them has some issues. So we do collect all available metrics for databases and elastic pools, and each metric on top has a monitor, so you can see it in the Health Explorer. By the way, it's very important that you can easily update settings, and I can show it really quick. So in the monitor properties, you have override tab, which will allow you to customize monitoring. So you can change settings. So you can see that here I have a critical threshold 95. So it will alert with a critical alert if I have CPU over 95%, but I can modify this value. So I can set lower or higher threshold. And this capability is available for any alert, any monitor, any workflow you have in SCOM. So you can customize your monitoring so it will work exactly for your environment. Okay, and yeah, so we also have some geo-replication here configured, and I can see what databases participate in geo-replication and the health state. So there is connectivity issues, and in the same time, geo-replication link state is in a good state. So I should figure out what's going on with DB4. It seems like I have just wrong Kronos profile for it. Okay, and as you could see, it's like it takes like not very much time to configure it. So it's just a simple wizard, and after that you have all your databases discovered and monitored automatically. We also have a number of views here that can be useful, that will show you performance and servers and so on. There are a bunch of stuff that you could use. Okay. And now I want to summarize scenarios and experience from the demos I've just showed you with SCOM. So we have a truly integrated monitoring experience for your data center. It's important that you can see all your SQL deployments, including cloud, Linux, and on-premise instances in the single place. It's pretty powerful and customizable, and you can extend it. It's free if you have SCOM license. All MPs are free for download. All you need is to import corresponding SQL Mentionparks to enable monitoring. It's very easy to enable this monitoring, as you could see. It's pretty straightforward. Just import Mentionpark or SQL Server or Azure DB and complete configuration steps like add subscription for Azure DB. Mostly, it will work out of the box with minimal configuration. And as I mentioned before, it's built by a product team with a constant contact to the PPs and end customers, and it's keep updating with every release of SQL Server. And here's my recommendation to you. So mostly you should go with this option if you already have SCOM or your data center is on-premise. And also it will work if you have hybrid data center and history with SCOM. But this is the best solution to work with on-premise data centers. And it's really powerful and flexible option to monitor SQL Server. My next demo is about SQL assessment solution in OMS. And I need to switch to okay. So first of all, I want to highlight how you can enable this solution. So you need to follow. There are two options. So first, you can download Microsoft monitoring agent and deploy it to your Windows computer that hosts some SQL Server role, or you can connect your management group. By the way, what you can see, it's Microsoft Operations Management Suite console, and you can work with this console directly, or if you look on recent updates to Azure portal, it's already integrated inside Azure portal as well. So one thing I want to note that it's important not only configure integration with your management group. So I already have SCOM, so that's why I choose this option, because it's much easier. But if you have SCOM and you want to run SQL assessment solution, please do not forget to add computers that you want to be monitored by OMS in management computers in administration section. So basically, last step to enable monitoring. Hold on a second. Okay. Okay, I'm back. So last step you need to do is to import solution from the gallery. So here you can find SQL assessment solution and just click and import it. So by doing that, and in a very short period of time, like maybe 1 hour, all data start collecting, and you will see that this tile with the SQL assessment solution is populated with data. So the main goal of this solution is to run hundreds of configuration checks and catch issue before it turns to a problem. And you can see that each tile here represent health checks for different areas like security and compliance, availability, performance, upgrade, and migration. So you can see that I have number of checks that already running on my environment, and some configuration looks good, and in some cases I have issue. And I can drill down to issue and see list of issues ordered by priority, and see very powerful and good description with a recommendation how to resolve the issue. And I can see which exactly objects affected. So as I mentioned before, this solution is free, and the only one thing you need to care is the amount of data that is generated by your environment. So I also have to say that this solution is keep updating pretty often, and all this knowledge that you see here is updated by SQL Mentionparks team, and based on the feedback that we got and PFEs, we continue to build new rules and improve this solution. So let's summarize. As I mentioned at the beginning of this session, it's all about assessment, and you can learn about potential threats that is better to fix now in some planned way, so you have no major issues in the future. But this solution will never report about operational issues. Another thing that this solution is only for your on-premise SQL Server instance, or if you run SQL Server on a virtual machine in your private cloud, in Azure, or any other cloud. It also will work. It's very easy to deploy, and for small deployments, it can be free. So this OMS provides a free tier, which allows you to upload 500 megabytes per day free of charge. And for larger deployments, you have to pay on a monthly basis. And I believe that it must have solution if you have a SQL Server on-premise or SQL Server on virtual machine in Azure or any other cloud. Must have. In the same time, I believe it's the best solution to start with OMS because it generates so small amount of data that even big data center like with 50 SQL instances can easily fit free tier, and you can learn how much data is generated by your environment and make a capacity planning. You have to pay to keep history, and by default you have data grooming period 7 days, but it can be extended up to 2 years. And as a best practice, I do recommend to use this solution to our customers in addition to SQL Server Mentionparks. Together, SQL Server Mentionparks, which runs on SCOM, and SCOM, which is connected to OMS and runs SQL assessment solution, it's really will cover 99% of issues that you might have with your SQL Server.
So there was a question, maybe others will be interested in this as well, performance implication of running the assessment tool on production server.
So you have to deploy Microsoft Monitoring agent, and I have to say that it's the same agent for SCOM and for OMS. It's just a Microsoft Monitoring generic agent, and by default, if you have only OMS agent, it will run solutions that you will choose, not more, not less. And that's all. So so far, I can say that impact is really minimal. If you compare it with SCOM, SCOM has a number of Mentionparks imported by default, and they will be executed automatically. So, and overhead will be a bit bigger, but again, usually Mentionparks design it in a way that they will not affect it significantly. Like 2% of CPU, on average, is the target for any Mentionpark, not more than 2% of CPU.
So Bill is asking, all my SQL resources are in Azure SQL DB in an elastic pool. Which monitoring solution should be considered? So maybe a nice segue for our next demo.
Yeah. So our next demo is exactly about OMS Azure SQL analytics solution, and I have to say that this solution is in preview mode, but it was updated in September, and it has a lot of new features comparing to our first release, first preview, when there was only performance metrics available. And I will switch to my second environment. So again, the first step for this solution is to enable it. And to enable this solution, first thing you need to do is to find your SQL database and go to diagnostic settings on the database. So here, and then you can see that diagnostic is disabled by default for your database. And in most cases, diagnostic will be disabled for most resources in Azure after you create them. So this is SQL database, SQL Azure database, and diagnostic is disabled. So what I want to do from here is to enable this diagnostic. So it's very easy. You can click turn on diagnostic and specify a reasonable name. And from here, you have a number of options. In the first release, the only one way how you can enable SQL assessment solution was PowerShell script that you run to enable performance metric collection. But now you have not only performance metrics, and you have to select this, but also you have different logs like query store, errors, waits, timeouts, etc. So I want to select send to log analytics, and I will select my workspace from a list of available workspaces. Okay, and on the next steps, I need to select what exactly I want to collect. I would aware you should be very careful about this step, because again, you have to understand how much data can be generated by your environment. And first of all, it's a good idea to try it out on one database, measure how much data is being generated, and then make a capacity planning for OMS, because you have to pay for every megabyte of data that is higher than 500 megabytes per day. So we will select all logs we want to have in OMS, and after that, just click Save, and all data will be pushed from Azure to OMS. Okay, after this step is completed, you need to import again solution from gallery, and solution itself is free. So here it is. Oh, here it is. Yeah, SQL Azure Analytics Preview. It's already pre-configured on this environment, and I can see that I have 8 databases and 2 Elastic Pool, and I can drill down and see what exactly is going on this environment. And on the first level, I can see some aggregation, but I can drill down and see very powerful dashboard that will show me my subscriptions, all servers, Elastic Pools, and database. And I can drill down to every this item to see what exactly is going on. It's really awesome that you can not only see some performance metrics, but also you have exact queries right here. And you can see query statistics. And I can see which exactly query was executed, and I can see duration, wait, CPU, data, IO log, and executions. And also, I have query weights, right? And I can see what type of weight it was, what query it was, and see all performance metrics in the same place. So answering your question about what is the best solution right now for Azure SQL database, if you have only cloud deployment, I will answer that you have to use Azure SQL Analytics. Even with the preview, it's very, very powerful solutions that you can use, but be careful about data. So you can see that I have a free data plan, which is essentially 500 megabytes per day. But from my experience, you can easily generate like 2 gigabytes per day for not very big data center with like 50 SQL instances, and you should be very careful and test it before you go into production. Okay, and now again, it's conclusion for Azure SQL Analytics solution. This solution is more focused on operations monitoring experience, and right now there is it's available only for Azure SQL database, and there is no such experience for on-premise SQL Server. And it's almost free, so it's all about data. So solution is free, but you have to pay for data that is generated and persisted. It's very easy to enable it. So it's literally like a 1 minute or 5 minute experience. And at the moment, functionality is limited, but it's keep evolving and keep updating. And it's highly recommended if you use Azure SQL database and you have a cloud infrastructure, because this solution is native to Azure platform. Okay, and this is a short final demo. Okay, so yeah, what you can see is SSMS, and yes, it's a script, and it's very short demo. I just want to show you result of the execution, and this is not something that you want to run every. Really? This is not something that you want to run every minute, because even on this small environment, it takes like more than 3 minutes to execute. But this is a very powerful tool that you could use, and it will show you all the checks related to performance, CPU, and memory, etc. So it's developed by people who actually build SQL Server, and they use this solution themselves to troubleshoot issues, and it has so many checks, really, literally hundreds, and they're all useful. And you can see that it's not only result, but there are also information that can explain you what exactly wrong. So it's also has a knowledge inside the scripts. And this solution is really good when you want to have free monitoring, completely free, and it's more comfortable for DBA, and it's good for assessment purpose. As I said, execution might take a long time, especially if you enable all type of checks. And of course, it has limited functionality because you need to scale it to your enterprise. And if you have multiple databases, you need to do some work to build automation on top and run it on your enterprise. I believe that this solution is very good when you have small environments, or you want to free monitoring, or you are already in troubleshooting session. This will help you a lot. Okay, and that's all about demo, and I hope now all of you know your options to monitor SQL Server on premise and in a cloud. Thanks a lot for your attention, and now we have a Q&A session. Do you have anything, Guru?
We don't have anything unanswered at the moment, I believe. If anybody else has any questions, please let us know.
I did get a question through chat just asking what version of SCOM you guys are using.
What version of SCOM? Yeah. I have multiple environments, so I cannot answer it easily, but I believe it was 2016.
Cool. And I think the other thing there was just one about is any way you can use the use statement in Azure SQL DB, but I'm not sure if that'll be answered by you or someone else.
Yeah, I'll reply to Bill. So I see a bunch of questions here. So Alex, is this available in Azure DW? Unfortunately, no. We don't have a solution right now for.
Yeah, it's only for Azure SQL database.
Lee is asking, how about 2014? Do you mean SCOM or SQL Server? we do monitor SQL Server 2014.
Yeah, SQL Server 2014 is completely supported, and with SQL assessment or SQL monitoring analytics solution, you can monitor SQL 2014. Sorry, with assessment you can monitor 2014, and SQL analytics, it's for current version of Azure DB.
Karthik is asking, we're depending on X events. Is it enough? Well, X events is only one part of the answer. And depends on if you want to build automation around it. I don't know if you built your own custom solution around X events. So the short answer is probably no, but better than nothing, obviously.
If we can just go back to a question I think you answered before. It was about let me see if I can find it. It was about, would the SQL Server MP Plus work backwards compatible or only going forward? You said it only worked going forward. What would you recommend for those with instances and servers that were in 2017 plus?
Okay, so first of all, we still have our previous versions of the Mentionparks deployed in parallel with SQL Server 2017 plus Mentionparks. So if you have a previous version of SQL, you will be covered by existing Mentionparks, and we'll keep supporting them. And in the same time, if there is a big demand from you, you can send it as a feedback to Microsoft. It's a possibility to support previous versions in this generic MP as well. But no promises, but again, it's all about your feedback and demand.
Okay, yeah, that's perfect. I suppose though, if you're on the newer versions, you do get a lot more functionality out of using the newer MPs, right?
Right. If you are on a new SQL Server and you want to monitor new functionality, you have to use new MP.
Lovely, brilliant. And we got a great question in there by Karthik. Just wondering, is there any upcoming tools for SQL on Linux?
So we have a Mentionparks.
Yeah, the 2017 plus Mentionparks works against SQL Server on Linux.
Yeah, and of course you have SSMS, and you can execute your favorite SQL scripts from VPCheck on SQL Server on Linux. So there are.
Brilliant. I suppose I haven't actually checked out the VPCheck myself, but would that work on Linux, or is that something going to be coming to it?
I believe that measure of checks will work, but again, it's we can pass this question to Pedro, who is owner of this tool, and he will make an update on GitHub, so everybody can see what is supported for Linux, what is not supported.
Brilliant, perfect, thank you. And I think a question came in there from Ricardo, if you want to check that out.
Yeah, for 2008 R2 and 2012. So you can monitor those SQL Server versions with the current MP, but as you're aware, mainstream support for those SQL Server versions ended, so we won't be updating those MPs going forward. But as they are today, they should continue to work for you. If you hit any issues or anything, feel free to contact Microsoft support for that, but we don't plan on updating those MPs going forward.
He's already saying thank you. That's great. I suppose another question would be, would you have any other links or sites that you would want to point people to if they're looking to get more information of SCOM or the MP Plus?
Good Good question. We do have a release blog that we announce when new MPs come out, and it has the links to the download center, etc. Any other links, Alex? Can you think of?
Can we get a contact and just answer?
Yeah, maybe we can share some links with you, Shane, and
Yeah,
because it's not just immediate.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to put you on the hop as well. Yeah, that's not a problem. We'll send you our email things and you can get back to us. I think just the only other question I've left came in through chat. Linda asked, does this mean that the existing MPs for SQL can still be installed with the latest SCOM versions? They just won't be updated.
Yeah, they will be compatible with SCOM 2016. And I was using exactly SCOM 2016 with the most recent updates during this demo. So yeah, all Mentionparks starting 2008 will work for SCOM 2016.
Brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. I